Unit GC2, Controlling Workplace Hazards. Element 1, Substance Misuse at Work. Key information: drug and alcohol abuse can have serious health and safety consequences for the worker, the employer, others involved in any incident. Drugs and alcohol must be controlled by the employer through clear policies, random testing where necessary, support for affected workers, awareness campaign. Types of substances misused at work. There are several types of substances that may be misused at work. Alcohol. Sometimes alcoholic drinks are taken at work, or during lunchtime. Drinks in a local bar. Employees returning to work can then be under the influence of alcohol. Often the effects of alcohol consumed the night before can linger into the next day with detrimental effects, especially for vehicle drivers and machinery operators. Legal or illegal drugs. Narcotic drugs can be in the form of over-the-counter non-prescription drugs such as common analgesics and painkillers, or stronger medicinal treatments prescribed by a doctor. Illegal drugs, such as cannabis, heroin, cocaine, etc., may be taken by persons while in the workplace and away from it. In all cases, use of such drugs can have detrimental effects on a person, not only leading to injury risks when driving vehicles or operating machinery, but also affecting their personality, responses and attitude. Other person may therefore be put at risk as well. Solvents. Inhalation of solvents, which may be through uncontrolled or badly controlled use of a hazardous substances, such as solvent cleaning and paint spraying, or from deliberate exposure, glue sniffing, can affect a person's performance and can damage their health. Risk to health and safety. Alcohol is an addictive drug that significantly impairs the sense and reaction times, even at low doses. Social history in many countries has meant that it is widely available, used and abused. As discussed earlier, drugs is a very broad term that can be applied both to legal, prescription drugs and illegal drugs. Some prescription drugs and many illegal drugs are also addictive. Effect of drugs and alcohol. The exact symptoms of alcohol and drugs abuse will vary, but some general symptoms might be observed. Late attendance. Increase absenteeism. Reduction in quality of work. Reduction in work rate. Dishonesty. Theft. Irritability and mood swings. Deterioration in working relationships. These will all be associated with cost to the employer, as well as increased risk. Drugs and alcohol cause sensory impairment, skewed perception, impaired motor control and, in many instances, fatigue and drowsiness. These are obvious safety risks associated with drugs and alcohol. For example, driving a vehicle or operating machinery under the influence increases the risk to the worker and to others. There are also health risks for the worker, usually associated with long-term abuse, for example cirrhosis of the liver due to alcohol abuse. Risk control measures. The employer should collect information about the state of the problem in the workplace. Company history may show clear pattern of drug or alcohol misuse. Of course, in some locations local culture will dictate that drugs and alcohol are severely restricted in use. The employer should establish a clear drugs and alcohol policy. This policy might contain the following: rules restricting access to alcohol in the workplace or during working hours. Statutory legal requirements prohibiting workers from being under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Non-statutory requirements, set by the employer, prohibiting workers from being under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Arrangements for any random drugs and alcohol testing that workers will be subject to. Arrangements for workers to have access to rehabilitation and treatment programs if they admit to having a problem. Disciplinary procedures for workers who refuse assistance, refuse to be tested, or who fail a test. Provision or information, instruction and training for workers, supervisors and managers. Drug and alcohol awareness campaigns should also be considered. Any drugs and alcohol testing policy must be justified and clearly explained to workers. There are legal and ethical issues associated with testing regimes that must be carefully considered.